With that, I don't want to take much time. I would request Meeta to do the welcome and an introduction of today's speaker, Manasi Ghate. Over to you, Meeta.
Thank you, Mohanji. And thank you for being the person behind Prerna. Every time we have any idea, you are the one who helps put everything in place. Your motto has always been, do what you all want, I am behind you. So mainly you have to be in the front. Thank you very much. Welcome everyone. Good evening. Namaste. We all Today we welcome our food safety, nutrition and fitness expert, Ms. Mansi Ghate. Mansi ji has done Bachelor in Food Science and Nutrition from the SNDT University, Pune, and has a postgraduate diploma in analytical chemistry. She is a certified diabetes educator and has also received the Level 4 award in Advanced Food Hygiene from the Chartered Institute of Environmental Health, UK. She is a certified food safety and nutrition consultant and trainer with Dubai Municipality. Mansi ji has been working in the field for over 10 years. She is actively involved with the Autism Center in Pune as the nutrition counselor. To raise awareness about nutrition and health, she conducts wellness workshops and supports health depth. Mansi ji has a long association with Prerna. In September 2015, we had addressed our parents during Prerna Manthan on nutrition and had guided eating out, eating right. She is always enthusiastic to share her knowledge, for she believes health first, quality life follows. Mansi ji, a very warm welcome to you on behalf of all those present here from the Prerna family. We request you to please guide us today in this session on nutrition and immunity building.
Mute. Manasi, you are on mute.
Sorry.
That's okay.
Thank you so very much, Meeta ji and Mohan ji and the entire team of Prerna for giving me this wonderful opportunity and to come again and address. Yeah. Good evening to all of you, all the parents. Yeah. Namaste to everyone. Hope everyone is fine. Yeah. And today we would like to begin with the session. I mean, nutrition, as Meeta ji rightly mentioned. Yeah. It is one of the most important topics that all of us are aware about, and nowadays there is so much of information available everywhere, isn't it? On the internet, you read in the newspapers, you hear about, there are so many forwards, and then that actually leads to confusion in our minds as to where exactly we start, yeah, and what needs to be followed. So today we'll be discussing nutrition pertaining to nutrition regarding to building immunity, yeah, because whenever we are talking about nutrition and immunity, what matters the most is basically it is a journey, isn't it? I mean, we are not working towards a goal. Although the title of the presentation shows that nutrition for building immunity, what is most important is it is the journey throughout our lifetime. Yeah. Mr. Mohanji, I just wanted to know if I have access for the presentation. Unable to hear you.
Yes, Mansi, you have access. You can just share the presentation now.
Yeah, okay. Just a second.
Yeah. I think we can go to the full screen.
Yes.
We can see that.
Yeah, now it is visible, right?
Yes.
All right. So, as I was saying, nutrition for building immunity, although the title looks like a goal, but more than a goal, it is a journey which we need to follow. Yeah. And right from formative years, because that is the best time to inculcate anything. Yeah. And whenever we are talking about nutrition, the first thing that comes to our minds is nothing but health. Yeah. So, what do we mean by health? Yeah. So, what is good health? What do we mean by health? What do we understand? Well, today actually it is a different format wherein only I'll be doing the talking. I would have loved to if I would have really, I mean, if I would have had answers from your side as well, but it is going to be a one-way communication. Although we'll be taking questions later. Some of you have already sent questions to Mitaji, and then I have received a few. Whatever remaining, we will definitely discuss all those questions at the end of the session. Yeah. Okay, so what do we mean by good health? In a nutshell, I have wrapped it up this way, where first, what do we say? H stands for holding a rational approach, isn't it? Yeah. We need to be extremely practical because, as I told you, every day we keep reading so many things on health and nutrition, and then today we follow one path, tomorrow we'll again go on to another path, and then that becomes difficult. So, that's the reason holding a rational approach, what is suiting to our needs, how have we grown up, where have we grown up, all these aspects play a major role on deciding how our health is going to, how our health is going to be. Then E stands for eating for need and not for greed, isn't it? I mean, looking at the current scenario, we are all aware how things have taken shape. And then we have really, really understood, isn't it? We have realized what are our real needs in our everyday lives, looking at the current situation. So, same thing with food, also, it is the same thing. Yeah, eating for our need and not for our greed. We'll be discussing in detail a little later. Activity levels, equally important. Activity levels as per growing ages. So, right from formative years, children have to be made active. Yeah. If they're not active, definitely it is going to affect overall their metabolism levels. Wherever it is extremely difficult for the child to be active, it is totally understandable. But otherwise, purposely a child should not be made to follow a sedentary lifestyle. Yeah, in certain cases it is extremely important to make the child active, and if we start working towards it since childhood, things can improve in later ages as well. Then one very important factor, where we actually, it just comes and goes by, laughter and fun time in plenty, but actually we need to have that, a full enjoyable family time is so required. Yeah. Again, coming to the current situation, this lockdown has taught us a lot. Laughter and fun time in plenty does a whole lot of good to us, isn't it? Yeah, currently also, I'm sure most of us must have enjoyed being at home. You're still managing all the routines. You're managing work-life balance, and otherwise, we used to attend sessions on work-life balance. Now, that's the best thing that we are doing sitting at homes. Yeah, so laughter and fun time plenty is something which is required. Tolerance levels upgraded, I'm sure that that has happened for all of us right now. Yeah. So this is what health talks about: tolerance levels in anything, be it your work, be it at home, be it managing household, or anything it is. Tolerance levels, or be it managing children. Yeah, so tolerance levels upgraded, they have to be there, and then only we can think rationally and act accordingly. Then habituating to active lifestyles, extremely important again. Being active throughout, right, since formative years, making the child active, because that just helps on to improve on the motor skills. Yeah. So all those things are equally important. So what is good health? So this is how we sum it up. And what is the most important thing that is required for managing health? First comes to our mind is food, isn't it? Yeah. So, food, even in three basic necessities, food tops the chart: food, shelter, and clothing. So, food is the basic necessity. Now, as you can see here in the pyramid, uh, one thing I liked about this pyramid, and that's why I use this in the presentation, is it doesn't talk about carbs, proteins, fats, vitamins, minerals. Yeah, we need not be breaking it down into all these, because individually they are not doing anything in our bodies. Yeah, whenever we are consuming any food, it is always a collective effort of the food which helps us in acquiring whatever nutrition is required. No food can be absorbed individually in our bodies. You cannot say that I want to have protein, so let me just have my dal. It will never work. especially in vegetarians. What normally happens is the vegetarian protein sources cannot be easily absorbed in the body. Yeah. The non-vegetarian sources can be easily absorbed, but vegetarian sources cannot be absorbed. So that's the reason. What happens with proteins, whenever we are talking about proteins, it is always good to combine it with a cereal. Yeah. So cereal protein, just the way we have, I mean, the dal rice combination, or the roti and dal combination, isn't it? The pulses you have with rotis, or take for example your idli dosas, wherein you're mixing the dal and the cereal together. So that just gives you a perfect, I mean, that just gives you the perfect nutrition, because it is not only about consuming, but equally about absorption of the nutrient. Because if the nutrient is not absorbed in your body, it is not going to show the desired results. So that's the reason, whenever we are talking about food, it has to be consumed. Yeah. Then fruits and vegetables. I recommend at least five a day is the key, So what I normally say is at least three vegetables and two fruits. Three vegetables coming from the sabzi or vegetable coming from the salad, and fruits as well. Two fruits a day. Yeah. Simple fruit like banana can do wonders to your bodies. Yeah. So two fruits and three vegetables a day is a very simple mantra which everyone can follow, isn't it? Then, as I said, with proteins, those who are vegetarian diets are not deprived of proteins at all. We can get enough protein even through vegetarian diets. And even if you're non-vegetarian, it's okay, no problem. You can have your, because non-veg proteins are much easily absorbed. Only thing is you have to control on the portion sizes there, because overeating of proteins also affects the digestive system and the kidneys. So that's the reason, control the portion size, that is a must. And at the top, as you can see, processed foods. Yeah. So processed foods, normally what happens nowadays, because of so much junk food getting cheaper and vegetables and fruits getting costlier, what is happening is we are, the food pyramid has gone topsy turvy. Yeah. So junk food has uh, grappled actually our lifestyles, isn't it? So we have a major consumption of junk food rather than the cereals and pulses. But it actually has to turn around, because junk food actually doesn't give us anything. I will never say that any food is bad or we should not be consuming this food at all. It's okay to have certain kinds of foods, absolutely okay. Only thing is portion size control is what we need to know. Another thing, I would also like to include, show you one more pyramid. This comes from the FSSAI. The most important thing I liked about this picture was, if you can look at the base of the pyramid. Yeah, they have shown grains, and they have shown grains actually outdoors, as in the fields. Because whenever we are eating any food, it is our primary responsibility, I feel, that we should actually enjoy the food and we should understand where it is coming from. So it is not only about eating food, but about the economy also. Yeah. And the ecology also. Yeah. So because it is all a chain, we are all a part of one of the chains, which, because of which an economy runs and ecology runs. So that's the reason it is so important, that we need to eat our grains. And now, in the again, because of the current situation, I'm sure most of us must have enjoyed a lot of non-perishables, because the humble non-perishables came to rescue, isn't it? When over here we are still blessed to be in Dubai, where we really didn't feel any shortage of food as such. Yeah. But wherever there was shortage of food, what came to rescue was the non-perishables. And non-perishables, they are packed with nutrition. Yeah. With the carbs and the protein, so they're actually your energy sources. Another thing which I would like to discuss in this is about growing your own food. Yeah. Even if you don't have space, begin with one food at a time. Maybe you can plant mint, or coriander, or fenugreek, the methi seeds. Yeah. Something at home. Even if you have one plant, and you involve your children in growing that plant, it will work best. Yeah. Even involving children in growing that plant, and then preparing some dish from that particular food, I'm sure it'll be the one of the most enjoyable experiences you'll ever have, and for you as well as for the child. Yeah. So that'll be really great. And maybe if you have enough space, you can try. And I'll tell you, these are the herbs, these simple herbs like mint or coriander or else fenugreek, even garlic. Garlic, we'll be discussing later. It is a very good food for AST. Yeah, so garlic is something which you can grow at home. Onion is something which you can grow at home. So green onions, which you will immediately get it, in within a few days. Tomatoes in Dubai. I mean, this is something which I'm telling you, which you can actually grow in Dubai. Beans you can grow in Dubai. Tomatoes you can grow in Dubai. So not a problem at all. And turn by turn, maybe every time you need not have, because especially what happens with green leafy vegetables like coriander or fenugreek or spinach, one harvest and it is all out of the pot. Yeah, so later on again you will have to plant the seeds, but overall it becomes a very 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 enjoyable experience for everyone, and it is a lot of learning even for the child. So rejections of food will also reduce if you involve the child in growing foods. Then another thing uh, which I liked about this pyramid was, look at the oil. They have given an eat moderately about oil, isn't it? And that is so important. Yeah, even sometimes what happens, especially with the special needs children, because of inactivity or inability for being active, what happens, they tend to put on weight. And then because they're putting on weight, what happens, we feel like we need to eliminate oil from the food because oil will be causing a problem, and then later on there'll be further more problems because of this. Now what happens, oil should not be eliminated. It is one of the most essential things that we need. Only thing is quantity. 5 to 6 teaspoons of oil throughout the day, and along with ghee also. At least 2 teaspoons of ghee every day, and about 5 to 6 teaspoons of oil is absolutely okay. There's no problem in consumption because oil is required for absorption of your vitamins. Because if you consume your lots of vitamins, vitamin A, especially vitamin A, vitamin D, vitamin E, and vitamin K, if you are consuming these vitamins and if there is no oil in your body or no oil in your diet, what is going to happen is it's not going to get absorbed in your body. So that's the reason oil is equally important. Yeah, so our meals, I mean, just the way we've grown up, whatever that we have grown up eating with since childhood. Yeah, so right from our ancient times, it's the best. Yeah, so your meal should look like a full meal wherein there is a good amount of cereal, greens, good amount of vegetable, some salad to go with. Yeah, maybe a dal along with it. So it is complete wholesome meal which we consume every single day. Yeah, so that should help. Then moving on to next. Yeah, we come on to the eating problems which most of the parents face. No to veggies. Is it a common problem that you face? Yeah, and we try different recipes or different ideas to ensure, but I'm sure all of you know, no to veggies normally happens with these children because nobody likes them in a way probably it is being presented. One thing is, what you can do is either cut it into different shapes or grate it into pancakes, grate it into idlis, or grate and put it into your parathas or dals, or you can simply cook them, process them in a blender and maybe convert it into a soup. So that could also be the multiple ways so that vegetables can be consumed by the children. And what happens is, what you also need to do is incorporate spices. If a child loves one particular spice or taste, so make it more tasty using spices. Yeah, and then convert it into different forms. I think some of you would be having a problem regarding this also. Eats only on certain days. Now, what happens here is, see, we need to know a pattern. Yeah, you need to analyze it as to what exactly is happening. Yeah, what exactly is happening whenever we are talking about this. So, eat only on certain days. So, just look at the pattern, because every time it is not going to be a child is throwing tantrums. It could be just any reason, something that happened at the school, something that happened at the home. That could also be one of the reasons why child is eating only on certain days and not on certain days. And if there is a repetitive pattern, we need to identify and then get it solved. Food dislikes, again, how a new food is being introduced. As I told you, if you involve the children in cooking, that also is a very good way to keep them engaged, ensure that they focus, concentrate. Yeah, and then even food dislikes, you can overcome the food dislikes. Yeah, so try involving the children even in the cooking process. I would like to share with you something. Long time back, I had conducted one of the cookery shows for children here in Dubai. It was for the special needs children, and they thoroughly enjoyed. Now, all of us know certain children do have repetitive behaviors. So, if you ask them to make a sandwich, they enjoy making a sandwich so much that they just want to do it more. So, try and involve children in cooking, and I'm sure children are also going to like it, and this could be one of the way wherein you can tackle with food dislikes or enjoys eating only favorite foods, and those favorite foods turn out to be junk foods. Yeah, see, giving these foods is not a problem at all to the children, but only thing is portion size control. Yeah, you need to decide a set frequency. If for 7 days, 6 days of the week the child is eating properly and is you're able to provide proper nutrition to the child, then it's okay, not a problem at all. Yeah, one day, one meal, but not the entire meal. Again, it has to be divided properly so that the child is not totally deprived of favorite food. And slowly and gradually you can cut down the intake also, once you introduce more and more foods, then maybe the child will be deprived of going on eating only the favorite foods. Some of you could be having a complaint of in between snacking, like during the meals child is not interested at all in eating meals, but in between snacking is something which is enjoyed the most. Yeah, so again, in that case also, whatever snack is being enjoyed in between the meals, include the same snack in the meal. Yeah, but with a condition wherein they have to finish the entire plate. So maybe you can involve a story. If the children are smaller, you can involve a story. If the children are bigger, I mean elder children, what you can also do is discussing something. So that could discussing something with them, or some sharing some experiences with them, wherein you include the in between snack in the food. Hmm? So that this in between snacking can be tackled. Or sometimes you feel like the child never eats enough. Yeah, but for this, now this is a little tricky, because most of the parents do feel that uh, there is set portion size which is already given, so parents feel as if this has to be finished. But sometimes it can happen because internally there are a lot of things happening, isn't it? So it could be a digestive disorder, it could be really the body is not ready to accept it. So child never eats enough. So that could also be one of the reason why the child is not eating enough. But don't set the portion sizes as such. Slowly and slowly you will get to explore. You can keep exploring and you will understand the exact dietary pattern of your child, and accordingly it may happen and it may work out. The thing which you can experience is doesn't chew food. Now this is most important. We really have to work out on this and make them chew their food, especially those who accept. For those uh, who accept only mashed foods, for them it is slightly difficult, but for the ones who are actually eating normal proper food, chewing is the first step to digestion. Yeah, whenever we are chewing food, what is happening, we are breaking it into smaller and smaller particles, and then it is going down into the body for assimilation. So chewing is the first step to digestion, because if food is not chewed properly, it won't be absorbed in the body properly, and we are not able to get enough nutrition from the food which we have consumed. uh, just to give you an idea what happens, if we don't chew food properly, our intestine has it's like a S-shaped thing in our body, isn't it? Our intestines. Now what happens in the intestine, suppose, just consider that this is a tube. Yeah, consider this is a tube. Now this tube has brush like filaments, all on the top as well as on the bottom insides. Now if a food is not chewed properly, what happens, some particles get uh, some particles get connected. Yeah, I mean, they get attached here, and then if you do not chew your food properly and don't have enough water properly after the food, they still remain there, leading to further digestive disorders. So chewing is extremely important. We have to make them chew, or initially uh, you know the teach them basically, to make different bites of every, even if it is a rice or a idli or a chapati or whatever it is, or even if it is any food that you're eating, show them what is the size of that bite should be, yeah, so that they understand and start chewing it more. Digestive disorders, yes. GFCF is a very common topic which we discuss with this. So, digestive disorders, why? Because insufficient enzymes. They don't have enough enzymes, and all of us are made different. It's okay, it happens with everyone. There are insufficient enzymes in the digestive system, and that's the reason why they're not able to digest food properly. Yeah, so if it is not chewed, plus if the enzymes are insufficient, it even further aggravates the problem. Fussy eaters or allergies, yeah, now that is one thing. Allergies are common with everyone, anyone and anyone can actually suffer from allergies anytime, isn't it? What is an allergy? Basically, it is our body's incapability to digest food, or body cannot accept it. Take for example, something goes into our eyes. What happens? The eye will flutter, yeah, we want to take it out, isn't it? So similar thing happens when we are consuming food. Whenever we are consuming food, our body is not able to digest that food, and that's the reason there are allergic symptoms. And allergies can actually happen at any age. It is only our observations and observations and observations through how, I mean, through which we'll come to know uh, why are these allergies happening and arising out of which particular food. Unless and until we don't see that or don't analyze that, we'll never come to know. Because allergies, as I said, can develop at any age and for absolute and for anyone. Then, because we are not able to feed the child, or because the child is not getting sufficient nutrition, overall nutrition is poor, so it will affect, you will see vitamin deficiencies, or else another thing which we also talk about is poor muscular health, so not enough strength, always a weak child, or always, so all these things do happen with poor overall nutrition. And then bladder and bowel problems equally, isn't it? Because of these insufficient enzymes and the digestive disorders, another thing, the muscles around the bladder and the bowel, so they are not developed enough for to perform their daily functions. So that could also be one of the reasons. For some of the children, yoga does help. Doing certain yogic movements do help for the bladder and bowel problems also. Plus, simple things like eating caraway seeds after meal. That also helps in digestion. Uh, Caraway seeds is ajwain. Yeah, ajwain. What we call in Hindi. So that is something which you can have along with hot water, warm water after the meal, so that aids in digestion. You will feel better. Ginger juice, lemon juice, having it after the meals will all is going to aid in digestion, so that could also help them. These are the common typical eating habits which children face. Another thing which we actually have to look at, I'm sure certain parents, you would be facing this problem. Yeah, what happens in these children? Normally there is a problem with the inner ear, and that's why you would have observed there's so many who are hypersensitive to sound. Yeah, why is that? Because there is an issue inside the ear, so that's the reason they're hypersensitive to sound, especially. And that is one more reason why they do not chew food easily. Yeah, so every time if a child is not chewing food, we are not directly coming to conclusions fast. What is important is understanding what exactly is happening inside. So it doesn't chew food. Why? Because hypersensitive to sound. So only certain foods can be consumed, certain foods won't. Now, because the child is not chewing food, what is happening? Digestive problems again, leading to stomach aches, bowel problems, inadequate nutrition. So how to deal? One of the solutions is, ideally they should be made to chew food. If not, at least providing them, teach them, to take smaller bites, wait in between meals, do not finish one after the other. Yeah, so in between, take one spoon, let the mouthful complete, I mean, it should all go down. Yeah, and then take the second bite. So teach them to do all that, because otherwise some children, they're definitely not going to chew food how much you want to try, but at least spacing the meal would help. Yeah, that do not take bites immediately, wait for some time. That could lead, or else, as I said, after the meals you can always give them ajwain, that is caraway seeds. And What else is even your lemon juice? Yeah. So some children can consume lemon juice as well, no problem. Because otherwise it is all going to lead to inadequate nutrition. And this is also something which most of you must have observed: digestion and posture, stomach aches, and digestive disorder. What happens here? A very common movement which you get to see, rocking back and forth or toe walking, yeah, that could also be related because of a stomach ache or digestive disorder. Think about ourselves. Even when we have stomach aches, we also, get into a tendency of doing this. But because they do not have enough enzymes in their digestive tracts, that's the reason they do face frequent stomach aches and digestive disorders. Those who can communicate, it is okay, but those who cannot communicate, it becomes even more difficult to communicate. So that could be one of the reasons why this is happening. Okay, so rocking forth, back and forth, and toe walking. So what do we do while feeding the child? Be a role model, most important, because parents are the first role models for the child. Because if you reject it, have it, yeah. Or if there is a very negative thought or a negative notion around that particular food, or you sit on the table, one of the family member doesn't approve of that particular food, definitely the child is going to reject the food. So be a role model. There should be a lot of positivity whenever you're sitting on the table for the food. Children actually know, most of the children do understand when they're hungry and full. So not every time you need not be forcing them. Another thing is introduce new food with familiar food, because whenever you want to introduce, normally new food rejections are a very common aspect with children. So introduce new food along with the familiar food. So that should help. Do not use food as a reward. Yeah. Very, very, very important. Never use food as a reward. In fact, whenever you're sitting for having your meal, ensure you're sitting all together for a meal, at least one meal in a day. Make sure all of you are sitting together with no gadgets around, no TV screens on. Okay, children have to be taught to enjoy the meal looking at the plate, and they should be eating with all the senses. Yeah. So whenever you're eating any food, tell them what to see. Yeah, all the senses, with your eyes, ears, you can hear the sound. Yeah, you can touch the food and you will come to know the texture of the food. You can smell the food. So all these things should be an experience to be enjoyed. Yeah, and this is to be discussed every single day. If you discuss these things with the children, yeah, you can try doing that. Some children might accept it, and habituate to this lifestyle wherein eating happens gadget free. That's so, so, so very important. A quick one on GFCF diet. Whenever you're talking about GFCF diet, especially with ASDs, yeah, so gluten free and casein free. One very important thing which I wish to share here is GF. If anyone is suffering from ASD, doesn't mean that they have to be put on GFCF diet, because all of us are made different. So it suits a few people, a few children, and it doesn't suit a few. So it's absolutely okay. And even if a child is put on GFCF diet, that doesn't mean that you are nutrient deprived. GFCF, that is gluten free and casein free. Gluten is coming from wheat, rye, barley, and oats. And casein is coming from all your milk and milk products. You eliminate only those. That doesn't mean you're deprived of nutrition. Yeah, so gluten free and casein free diets. Why they say that you should not be giving gluten and casein to the children? Because again, they have insufficient enzymes to digest the gluten and casein. Anything, because these are proteins. To digest the proteins inside our bodies, what we need is enzymes. If there are no enzymes in our body, we are unable to digest the protein. Exactly, that's what happens. Because they are indigested, they form these opiates in our bodies. What do is they alter the person's behavior, perceptions, and responses to the environment. So basically it affects the cognitive function. And that's the reason we say that gluten and casein free diets to be given to the children. But that does not necessarily mean that every child has to be put on GFCF diet, because other than GFCF diet, also if its child is put on a normal diet where gluten and casein is included in the meal, it's absolutely okay. No problem with that. As I said, rye, barley, oats. grain, and basically processed food. And one hitch here is, gluten free diet. It is not only eliminating these, but whenever you're going outside and buying packaged foodstuffs, what happens is all those packaged foods contain gluten in terms of preservatives or additives. Yeah, so that again has to be eliminated because we don't read those labels much. Gluten free diet, for gluten free diet, what you can use nowadays, there is plenty of mm, options available. There's rice flour, there's soya flour, there's different bean flours, raw banana flour, millet flours. Anything and everything can be consumed. But in millets, don't go for rye and barley. Yeah, the ragi, finger millet, foxtail millet, so all those millets can be consumed. Those flours can be consumed. Then in gluten, it's plain meat, fish, rice, fruits, beans, nuts, seeds, vegetables. They are all great sources for this diet, and they do not contain gluten because it is coming from, as I told you, wheat, rye, barley, oats. Yeah. As I was telling you earlier, yeah, the hidden sources which we need to know. And I would highly recommend not to go for packaged foods, especially for children with ASDs, because it doesn't do a whole lot of good for the children. Yeah, it is much easier for us actually as parents, but it is not easier on the child's gut. And these children definitely suffer from a lot of digestive disorders. So ideally, because any additive, any preservative, any stabilizer which is found in food is all chemical based. It is not plant based. Naturally, all our bodies are actually designed to, process the foods coming from natural sources and not these artificial sources or artificial chemicals. So that's the reason the least we consume these artificial elements, much better for everyone. So because we don't get to read the labels, isn't it? And if you have observed in the supermarkets, wherever we go to, there are no wall clocks anywhere, isn't it? We don't even come to know. Sometimes we are just cruising through the aisles and we don't know. I mean, we go in the afternoon around 3:30, 4 o'clock, and then by the time we out, it's already sunset, post sundown. So that's the reason, it is always important to read the labels food packets. So it is a because that is the only place where we'll come to know what are the additives and preservatives. And if there is a long list of additives and preservatives, please don't go and buy simple things. Even like coconut milk, if you have observed in the markets, if you're using the tinned coconut milk which is available here in the markets, yeah, there are multiple brands out there. How many of us actually bother to read the labels? One thing which I would like to tell you on this is on some of the brands, what you get to see is only coconut milk and water. That is the content of that coconut milk. In some of the brands, you will get to see almost 3 to 4 different kinds of preservatives which they're adding in the coconut milk. Yeah. So then it doesn't become a natural coconut milk. And if our diets are predominantly in our diets, if we're predominantly using coconut milk, it is our responsibility to check what exactly are we consuming. Yeah, so that's why reading labels is very important. For casein free, instead of milk and milk products, different kinds of available. Coconut milk, as I said, soy milk, almond milk, rice milk. Yeah, these are all the suggestions available. Again, almonds, those who are allergic to nuts may not enjoy having the almond milk also. Some children also get allergic to soy milk also. But rice milk and coconut milk can be safer options. Yeah, rice milk and coconut milk are a much safer option. But as I said, coconut milk, rice milk, if made out of home, much better than the supermarket options. Casein, all milk and milk products like milk, then cheese, ice cream, puddings, your paneer. So all this is having casein. Casein is basically concentrated protein. See, whenever you heat, what happens with proteins? Whenever you heat proteins, they coagulate. Yeah. So that's why your paneer is rich in protein. Gulab jams, yeah, extremely rich in protein. It's casein, concentrated source of protein. So that's the reason these children are not given these foods. Eggs, although they are proteins, they don't contain. So if you are eating egg, if you are a vegetarian, you can definitely go for eggs for your protein sources. Otherwise, For vegetarian, you are getting it enough from all your pulses, dals, nuts like walnuts, almonds, cashew nuts. You're getting your protein sources from there. Yeah, so don't you worry even if you are on a casein free diet and a gluten free diet. That does not deprive you of any of the nutrients. Yeah, if your child is not allergic to soya, tofu is one more concentrated source of protein if you like tofu. Sometimes these alternative products do have a peculiar taste, so what you can do is maybe enhance those tastes using different spices. uh, and all spices are actually having a lot of medicinal properties. Even if you take pepper, you take garlic, even bay leaves, cinnamon, so these are all the spices. So try using these spices and then preparing the food, so that that'll be much better and more acceptable. Okay, one more thing which I would like to stress on: just the way we have food pyramid, we have even physical activity pyramid. Yeah, so as I said, for those children who are, hello, for those children who are yeah, so they have to get into an active lifestyle. Yeah, so more on the outdoors. If they start exercising more on the outdoors, that'll be great. So that more of activity has to be incorporated, because whatever we are consuming, it always helps for the better metabolism of our bodies. So more activity is much better for the children as much as you can. This will also help in developing their gross motor skills. So more activity, the better it is. Certain therapy suggestions which I would like to quickly go through. Variety underlies any healthy diet. Yeah, so bring in more and more variety into your food, and I'm sure the children are going to enjoy it. Include children in your cooking right from grocery shopping. Yeah, so that also will help. uh, in fact, they'll become more acceptable. Yeah, the rejections will try and gradually be reduced. At home, as I said, include them in the meal preparation, so that itself will help them enjoy the entire process, and something which you make, you're always happy about. Yes, and ensure food is manageable for little hands. So whatever you're asking them to make sure you make in little portions wherein they also get to enjoy. Very simple example. What happens? I would quickly like to go through this topic, wherein most of the children, what they have is in the digestive system, they have they do develop fungal infections. Yeah. Now, garlic has very high antifungal properties. That's why simply rubbing their plates with garlic and then putting their food on the plate, because it is raw garlic. Yeah, and antifungal properties come from raw garlic and not from cooked. So when you fry the garlic in oil, these properties are all gone. Yeah, so again, cooking process also plays a major role whenever we are consuming any kind of food. Then a good vigorous physical activity, wherever possible, engage them as per their capabilities. Involve them in physical activities. Yeah, that is going to do a whole lot of good for them. Then massage therapy. One thing which I want to point out, especially these children are normally averse to touch. They don't like people touching them. Yeah, in that case, massage therapy actually works as a stress reliever. It calms their mind, it relaxes them, and at the same time, slightly they become less averse to touch, so they become more acceptable again. So but this is to be learned. So at night, maybe before going to bed, 15 minutes before going to bed, if you're going to massage their feet or massage their hands and arms, it's going to do a whole lot of good. And initially, maybe what you can also do is start storytelling, or discussing, or some talking around the subject, rather than, so that the child's concentration is diverted, yet at the same time child is relaxed and sleeps better. Because again, digestive disorders, one reason, insufficient sleep or late nights, that could also be one of the reasons for their digestive disorders. uh, and nutrition, these are just a few tips or nutritional guidelines looking at the current scenario, which, see, most of our body's protection against the disease comes from the gut flora. Yeah, and 85% of our protection, we get it from our own gut flora. So if your digestive system is working fine, it is easier to tackle any of the problems. Yeah. Then lacto fermented food, actually yogurt is a very good source of probiotic. If your child is not on the GFCF diet, please do have a healthy dose of yogurt every single day, especially in the afternoons. And those who are on GFCF diet, what you can do is consume fermented food. Even the idli dosa is our fermented food. Yeah. So consumption of that again has a strong, it helps in protecting your gut flora. Plenty of water. It is a very, very, very important but non-essential nutrient, we say, but very important, isn't it? So it is a non-nutrient but very essential non-nutrient. Yeah. So drink plenty of water, because water itself has the power to cleanse your body and remove all the toxins from your body. So simple water. Sometimes if a child is not ready to drink water, nowadays it is summertime here. So what you can also do is, you know, putting either a lemon or mint in water and then drinking that water. So that gives it a taste. If the child enjoys the taste, you can give child the same water as well. Otherwise, it's plain water. It could be sometimes cucumber and mint. So any. Then other nutritional guidelines, vitamin A and D in cod liver oil. Yeah, so that also helps sometimes. Vitamin C again is extremely important as a body's fighting mechanism, because these are all the antioxidants. Yeah, they are all body's own fighting mechanism. Yeah, free radical scavengers are present. Then soya products. So all these are actually your antioxidants. A daily dose of antioxidants works best. That is, as you can see from the slide, it is all coming from colorful fruits and vegetables. So you bring in more color, it's much better. Then vitamin C rich food. Guavas, you have lemons, amla. I know some children are averse to this vitamin C because of the citrus taste. So that can be blended by using maybe some rock salt you can add, even plain sugar or honey you can add. That's okay. Sometimes giving them some sugar is absolutely okay. I know sugar leads to hypersensitivity, but not every time. Yeah, it depends upon which meal you're giving them. Yeah, so that is absolutely okay, and you can always blend the tastes. Yeah, so make it sweet and spicy or sweet and sour, so that the child might accept. But vitamin C rich foods have to be consumed, or else then they have to be consumed in some or the other form. This is a slide for vitamin A rich foods. Yeah, because these are all antioxidants, and vitamin A, again, as I said, cannot be absorbed in your body without oil. So oil has to be consumed along with vitamin A. It is coming from your milk, it is coming from oranges, it is coming from green leafy vegetables, it is coming from papaya. Yeah, so these are all very good sources of vitamin A. Apricots, yeah, carrots, it's all good for your eyes. Vitamin E rich foods. Yeah, so vitamin E is again required for healthy skin tone. Yeah, uh, and again, it is a very good fighting mechanism for the body. So vitamin E rich foods like avocados, you have walnuts, kiwis, broccoli, or so all these olives, eggs. So they are all good in vitamin E. Another thing is omega-3. Now this is normally neglected, and why? Because omega-3 cannot be formed in our own bodies. Yeah, so it has to be supplied from outside. Omega-3 rich foods. So your different kinds of nuts, papaya seeds, avocado. If you're eating non-veg, salmon is a very good source. Flax seeds. Flax seeds is something which you can use in just anything, be it a paratha, be it a idli, be it a rice, into anything you can add flax seeds. So that helps. Yeah. I would like to sum up my session by saying, let food be thy medicine and medicine be thy food. Yeah. Thank you very much. And I have got a few questions here. So if I would like to address a few questions which I've already received.
Mansi, you can come out of your screen, then maybe you'll be
Yes.
able to see more number of parents. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so I would like to address a few questions. I had one question which was about a a CP child bedridden for quite a long time, about 21 years. Oh, 1 second. Yeah. Now regarding that, just give me a second, please.
If it's fine with you, I would suggest that Meetaji can ask the question.
Yes, please. Sure,
In
sure.
the interest of everyone, so that you'll be able to answer.
Sure,
One.
sure. That will be great.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Meetaji, over to you, please.
Okay, thank you, Mohanji. Mansi ji, before we start the questions, could you please repeat about the garlic? Many parents want to hear it again.
Okay, garlic, as all of us know, it is one of our ancient herbs, and then it has a lot of nutritional properties also. One of the very important property of garlic is the antifungal property. Normally children face fungal infections inside the digestive system, and it is not only children. All of us at any age, it can happen to any one of us. Yeah, the digestive disorders, they do happen inside the body, especially with ASDs. The most common fungus observed is the Candida albicum. So to what we need, garlic is a very easily accessible. As I said again, once you buy it from the market, you can even plant it in a very small pot and you will get garlic at home itself. Yeah, so rubbing that fresh garlic onto your plate, whichever plate, I mean, you're having food on a particular plate, just rub garlic on that plate and then put that food on the plate and let the child have that food. Yeah, that itself helps in curing. It itself acts as an antifungal property. So that is a very simple thing which you can do every single day or every single meal, because that particular garlic, the flavor will also not be much, so acceptance of the child is also much easier in this case. Yeah, and if it is a roti or a chapati or a rice, anything, then you can just mix it, just rub that garlic onto your plate and mix, and you can apply and easily consume. Yes.
This is
Yeah.
very nice, very simple also. Just cut the garlic, rub it gently on the plate, and you're ready to consume.
Yes, yes,
In a
it's a very
very
easy.
quick manner. The other question we had from a parent was about a child who is sedentary. He has a hemoglobin level, but he is underweight. What do you suggest should be added to his meals so that he can build muscles?
Okay, building muscles with CP, what normally happens is normally they consume mashed food, so they're not ready to chew food as such, isn't it? So what you can also include is millets in your food. Yeah, regular dosage of different kinds of millets. You have ragi, which is very good in calcium also. That also helps in strength building, bone building. So it helps in your muscle building also. So ragi or millet is something which you can consume, and it can be consumed in the form of porridges. Yeah, porridge is something which can be easily consumed. You need not either with milk, or if he's allergic to milk, it can also be given in buttermilk. That also can be done, or different kind of porridges, or if milk or buttermilk, I mean, if you're totally on casein free, then in that case what you can also do is use coconut milk, or use rice milk or soya milk or anything, or even plain water. Yeah, just cook it in plain water, that also can be consumed. So you can use different kinds of millets to build the strength. You can use different kinds of beans. Yeah, because all the non-perishables, because all your beans and dals are going to give you enough protein which will help in muscle building, so that can be done. And maybe some oil massage could also help, because only food is not going to help in building muscle. So certain oil massage and all, if you get in touch with someone, so that also could be one of the options for building muscle.
The other question is how to avoid vitamin D deficiency, especially when the child is a vegetarian and they're following the GFCF diet.
Yeah, I know. Vitamin D, normally, uh, see, simple thing what you can do, if they are sleeping on time, they can get up on time, and, going out in the sun for enough, for even as less as 10 minutes in a day also helps for your vitamin D intake, daily dosage of vitamin D intake. Otherwise, vitamin D you can get from some vitamin D you can get from oats, sometimes rice. Yeah, so oats, rice are sources of vitamin D, even soya, and plus nowadays you get a lot of products fortified with vitamin D. Yeah, fortification is the need of the hour nowadays, because see, it is not only about consumption of vitamin D or consumption of these foods, but absorption is equally important. Yeah, so fortified foods is something to go with. Otherwise, soya or else rice and oats is something. So these are the vegetarian sources wherein you can get your vitamin D from.
Thanks. Another question that has come in is, what time should the child take their last meal? And how will that help them also in sleeping at time?
Okay. Last meal, ideally about 3 to 4 hours before sleep, the child should be having the meal. Because what happens if you are sleeping immediately after a meal, it doesn't get digested properly. Think about a pipe. Yeah, you're pouring water in a pipe. What happens? The water will flow easily. Now, you make the pipe horizontal. Now, put in water. The water will stay here. It will not pass. Yeah, it's a simple principle. So that's the reason, as far as possible, at least 2 to 3 hours is the minimum time before bedtime. Minimum time is 2 hours. Best would be 3 hours before sleep that you have your food, but minimum time is at least 2 hours after food you should be sleeping. Yeah, and not immediately. And again, I think during the lockdown current scenario, it is late nights also, with it could be late nights also with most of the children, so that also needs to be avoided. And again, as I said, massaging is a very good way, or storytelling is a very good way, wherein a child is put to sleep, as well as overall relaxation, and then child can enjoy a sound sleep as well.
Thank you.
Yes.
Do we have time for another question?
I think we can take the last question, Meeta-ji.
Okay. Another question is, what are the sources of protein for a vegetarian?
I think I discussed during the session also this basically protein sources for vegetarian is coming from all the beans and pulses. The dals, our everyday meals are loaded with proteins. But as I said, proteins, if you consume only dal, you're not getting your protein. You have to consume your dal with the rice, like a khichdi, or you have to consume your dal with roti, or as I told you, idlis, dosas, paniyarams, wherein you're mixing cereal and protein together. That is only going to give you absorption. Yeah, because these foods, they work in tandem. I mean, they work together. It is like a family. It doesn't happen that, okay, I want to have my protein, so let me have my dal. It will not work. So for any nutrient absorption, you always need another nutrient to be supplemented, so that absorption happens better inside the body. So for proteins, mm, if you're having milk, yeah, again, that is a source. I mean, if you're having milk, if you're not a completely vegan, milk is again a good source of protein. Otherwise, all dals, pulses, even the dry fruits, walnuts, almonds, cashew nuts, all these are giving you a good source of protein. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes.
Yeah, good. I think, thank you, Meeta-ji and Mansi-ji. Dear parents, I know there were many more questions, which we shall definitely try to answer. Or if you have any other further questions, you can always post to the email ID what you have, prerana.cgi@gmail.com. We shall definitely make sure that we try to address all your questions. Considering the limitation of the time, we have to definitely end the today's thing. But before we end with the vote of thanks, I would like to share a couple of things. There are two important people. One of them whom we missed was our executive committee member, Shivananda. Can you please raise your hand, please? Yeah, he's one of the strong executive committee member, wherein when I introduced the UR team, he is the inspiration behind encouraging the younger talents to bring into the volunteering work. Hats off to you, Shiva, and your team. And one other important person to go everything live is our Aditya. Can you come on the screen, Aditya? Yeah, here is Aditya. Thank you, Aditya. He is the person who is ensuring that the smooth flow of activities happen. Two things I would like to repeat and then go for the vote of thanks. The video, what we played in the beginning for the activities, I request all the parents to be online. After the vote of thanks, we'll be relaying once again to the benefit, because it was the hard efforts of the children who have put in a lot of efforts and bigger efforts by the UA team for bringing in a good quality video. And another point what I would like to add is, in the beginning we mentioned to motivate and encourage more number of parents taking benefit. Any parent who has attended more than 5 sessions will be getting into a lucky draw and will be able to win some vouchers for that. Well, I don't want to take much time. Our UA team member, I would request Yuva Priya to give the vote of thanks for today's lecture.
Good evening, Mansi ji, all the executive committee members and all the ladies and gentlemen on the call. It's my privilege to propose the vote of thanks today on the second day of our 10-year journey celebration. And I, on behalf of Team Prerna and all the families, extend my hearty thank you to Mansi ji and for giving us a very clear idea on nutrition for immunity building and how food is a very important element and how we must balance it out in our lives. Thank you, Ji, for sharing with us your ideas and clarifying all our doubts very sweetly. We would like to also thank all the participants and would like your ongoing support for all the future sessions. It would be great if you can also encourage other parents, your friends and families to join in our 10-year journey celebration. Thank you very much and hope to see you tomorrow in the next session. Dhanyavad.